In our hyper-connected world, it seems counterintuitive that loneliness has become a pervasive epidemic. We are constantly bombarded with messages, notifications, and updates, seemingly connecting us to a vast network of individuals. Yet, beneath this digital facade, many experience a deep and profound sense of isolation. Loneliness, it seems, is not merely about being physically alone. It's about a lack of meaningful connection, a yearning for intimacy and understanding that transcends superficial interactions. This disconnect between our digital lives and our innate need for genuine human connection lies at the heart of the loneliness epidemic. We scroll through endless feeds, consuming curated versions of others' lives, while our own sense of belonging dwindles. The ease with which we can connect online can paradoxically make us feel more isolated, highlighting the absence of true intimacy in our lives. Loneliness is not a sign of weakness or a character flaw. It is a fundamental human experience, a signal that our need for social connection, a need as vital as food or shelter, is not being met. Understanding this is the first step in addressing the pervasive feeling of loneliness that affects so many. It's time we move beyond the superficial connections of the digital age and cultivate genuine, meaningful relationships that nourish our souls and combat the growing epidemic of loneliness. It's important to distinguish between loneliness and introversion, as they are often conflated. Loneliness is a negative emotional state characterized by a discrepancy between desired and actual social connections. It's a feeling of emptiness and isolation that stems from a lack of fulfilling relationships. Introversion, on the other hand, is a personality trait. It describes how individuals respond to social stimulation. Introverts typically find their energy depleted by social interaction and require solitude to recharge. They may prefer smaller groups or one-on-one interactions over large gatherings. This preference for solitude does not equate to loneliness. Introverts can be perfectly content in their own company and still crave meaningful connections with others. The key difference lies in the emotional experience. Loneliness is marked by a sense of longing, emptiness, and dissatisfaction with one's social life. Introversion, however, is simply a preference for less external stimulation and a greater need for solitude. It's entirely possible for introverts to lead fulfilling social lives and for extroverts to experience profound loneliness. We often associate loneliness with being physically alone, but the reality is far more complex. Many people experience loneliness even when surrounded by family and friends. This seemingly paradoxical situation arises from a lack of emotional intimacy and a sense of truly being seen and understood. Family relationships, while a source of love and support, can sometimes lack the specific type of emotional connection we crave. We might feel unable to express our true selves or share our deepest fears and insecurities with those closest to us. Friendships, too, can sometimes lack depth. We might engage in pleasantries and social activities without ever truly delving into the core of who we are and what we long for. The pressure to present a curated version of ourselves, both online and offline, can further exacerbate this sense of disconnect. We might shy away from vulnerability, fearing judgment or rejection, and in turn prevent ourselves from experiencing the true intimacy that combats loneliness. Even in the presence of loved ones, we can feel profoundly alone if our true selves remain unseen and unheard. Loneliness is not merely an emotional state, it has profound implications for our physical and mental well-being. Research has consistently linked loneliness to a higher risk of chronic diseases such as heart disease, stroke, and dementia. It can weaken the immune system, making us more susceptible to infections. The impact of loneliness on mental health is equally concerning. It is a significant risk factor for depression, anxiety, and substance abuse. Chronic loneliness can lead to a sense of hopelessness and despair, making it difficult to engage in self-care or seek help. It can trap individuals in a vicious cycle, where feelings of isolation lead to behaviors that further exacerbate loneliness. The pervasiveness of loneliness in our society highlights the urgent need for interventions that go beyond simply increasing social contact. We need to foster environments that encourage vulnerability, empathy, and authentic connection. Addressing the loneliness epidemic requires a multifaceted approach that acknowledges its profound impact on our collective well-being.